Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Welcome to the Worry-Free Retirement. I am not the little man in the sweater vest, Tony Walker, but I'm Heather Hughes, the full-time fiduciary in the Bowling Green office at Tony Walker Financial. As promised, Tony and I were on the show last week talking about longevity, and this week I've got my fellow fiduciaries in the office, Trey Juergens and Wes Walker.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And Wes, hello in the bullpen.
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Doing great. So what we were going to do last week, Tony and I talked about longevity as far as us as a retirement firm and the consistency that we have in taking the clients through the retirement plan process. And, we rely on a team to do that. So, I think we've got our staff back here, all displayed. They work really hard in getting the retirement plan in place and servicing our clients. But we wanted to kind of expand on that a little bit longer today and really talk about our individual roles in the retirement process and how that works. So, we have the Worry-Free Retirement Plan. That's a 5-step process. Let's kind of walk through that a little bit, and then we'll kind of expand on how those play into an individual's client's plan. So first, we'd like to start with a vision. So that starts with Tony. Essentially, he tries to meet with everybody on the first appointment. After that, he takes all of that information from that first appointment. We get together, we build out a retirement plan. The staff in the planning department really kind of works through that, puts that plan together. Tony comes back, presents that plan. So, Trey, why don't you kind of speak to where we are with that, and we'll kind of go from there. So,
as fiduciaries, I think that first appointment is so important. It's usually 30 minutes. We start that with our starter kit. So ahead of them ever meeting with you, me, Wes, or Tony, they are given a starter kit, our Form CRS, all of the documents us as fiduciaries have to provide them. So as they gather their documents, their statements, everything that we obviously need to review with them, they will bring that to that first appointment. That's kind of the fact finder, as we would say. We want to clarify their vision, better understand what they want to do in retirement. And as we build that out into their custom income plan, that's what we share with them at that second appointment. So I think that's what I've noticed. And Wes, I know we've talked about this a lot, is that kind of sets us apart, these second appointment plans. And a lot of people, you ask them what their game plan is, they have a stack of statements maybe thrown in a garbage bag or a grocery bag, and they bring that in. That's what their retirement plan is. It's far from a plan. So when we have our income planning department, our tax planning department put together this plan for us to, as advisors, show them at that second appointment, that's really what sets our firm apart.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, Tony and I mentioned that a little bit last week too. He'll ask them, well, let me see your retirement plan. And, clients or potential clients are like, I don't know what you're talking about. So our plan, I think, is a really organized tool. Couple of pages. We have it in the binder, and it gives them a really good blueprint to how retirement could work for them.
Yeah. I think what's really cool too is that people are able to meet with the owner of the company with their first appointment. A lot of times with big advisory firms, there might be somebody who's headlining saying, yeah, this is my firm and this is who I represent, but you'll probably not meet with that person. So I think a lot of people see a lot of value in being able to meet with Tony for both their first and usually second appointments.
I agree, yeah. And Tony and I mentioned this, I know you all haven't seen that episode yet, but our firm's a little bit different in that, we are all advisors, but we don't have our own select group of clients. We share all clients, and I think that really breeds some consistency too, that for our clients' experience. So, we can look at the income plan, any of us, and know exactly where they're supposed to be and what's happening in their retirement. Where if you've got advisors that retire, switch firms, pass away, they may have understood their clients where they were trying to go and how he was going to get them there. But if somebody else steps in, they have no idea what's going on.
That's exactly right. I think all three of us being process-trained, salaried fiduciaries, we share all clients across the board. Anybody could call in any given day and be able to speak to someone directly, not hang around on an 800 number trying to get the answer. And that advisor can pull up their entire game plan and understand, based all the way back to that very first appointment, what these original goals and objectives were.
I think even to speak to that more, Tony ultimately is their primary advisor, and we all work under Tony just following the tenets of the income plan. So I think that kind of structure, it bodes well for the client because there's not a conflict of interest for anybody to be selling something that they don't need.
I agree. And, the income plan is really kind of that base on the assessment within that 5-step process. So when we come back from the break, what I'd like to do is let's kind of move along that circle and talk about commitment. And so if somebody does decide to go forward with a plan, how does that look? So we will be right back.
Hi, I'm TJ Reagan, and I'm in the tax planning department here at Tony Walker Financial. I'd like to take a minute and talk to you about gifting, specifically the gift tax. If you've been hesitant to give money to your children, grandchildren, or whoever because of the dreaded gift tax, did you know the IRS will actually allow you to gift up to $16,000 per person? If you go over the $16,000, then you're required to file a gift tax return. In most instances, this is just for informational purposes only. Only the amount over $16,000 would then count against your total lifetime exemption, currently set at a little over $12 million. No taxes would be owed unless you have exhausted your lifetime limit. If you have questions about the gift tax exemption, just give us a call here at Tony Walker Financial. We'll be glad to answer those for you.
Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today.
Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Trey Juergens, full-time advisor here in the Louisville office. With me, Heather Hughes and Wes Walker. Today, Tony tasked us with just kind of explaining what we as fiduciaries do to assist our saver clients in their retirement planning. So, Heather, as new business manager, you get to see the stack of files that Tony and I send you back from Louisville and make sense of all of our scribbles. That is kind of where I come into the fold a lot of the time on new business. Tony will bring somebody down the hall in the Louisville office. They'll meet with me, whether we're moving forward with the whole full-scale retirement plan that we've laid out, or it's more of a transactional thing that we're assisting them with. Could you speak a little bit to kind of making sense of those files when we send them back?
Absolutely. So that is the commitment form of the 5-step process. And so that essentially is when a client's ready to move forward with the plan, some or all of the plan. A lot of times they might just take one piece of the plan and move forward, which is fine. But we do refer that, take the client down the hall to Trey. So majority of the clients are in the Louisville area. So you see a lot of the new business. And of course, we also take care of them in Bowling Green as well. And I think, Wes jumps in Lexington when needed. But yes, so, when they're ready to move forward, of course, there's a lot of paperwork involved. So why don't you kind of walk through how you kind of decipher the plan, what you're going to need, and, what that looks like for a client who is ready to move forward.
Right. So we kind of call that the onboarding process. And again, the joke is, come see my favorite son-in-law down the hall. He'll get started with all the paperwork. And about 5 years ago, when I started in new business, Tony was like, "Oh, this is great. As a younger person, you're going to help us get away from all the paperwork." That, of course, in this industry probably will never happen. But I'll go through a couple examples here with those types of clients that we're helping. So as a prospect becomes a client, that onboarding process of getting the funds where they need to be in terms of what we recommended for them, we'll go to a couple scenarios. This first one is a little easier. This, in this instance, it's a 60-year-old. They've got some savings built up at the bank, about $100,000, looking for better than next to nothing interest that they're getting right now in a savings account. Tony would bring them back to me. I would assist them in completing an application, in this case for a 5-year fixed annuity. A lot of those multi-year guarantee annuities with interest rates rising have been really popular, especially this year. Right in this example, they were going to write a $50,000 check from the $100,000 savings. Of course, I would get their driver's license. I'd get all the appropriate information. We would put that back in the file and send that along to Bowling Green for processing. Some folks in Louisville, we help explain that all the new business is processed in Bowling Green. So I get the process started, but Connie Fortney and Jennifer Jaggers, they would step into the fold and get that annuity application submitted, send that check along, just so we could get everything all where it needs to be. Scenario 2 would be a little bit more involved. In this case, this will be a couple, say 64, 63. They're already retired. They had a previous advisor who themselves actually retired and left the business. They came to us wanting Tony Walker Financial to manage their brokerage account. So in this case, they had about $280,000 in a brokerage IRA. Not uncommon that we help folks get this money moved over. In this case, however, they had 1.5% management fees. So in switching over to advisory services with our firm, we're going to be able to save them significantly in fees, but a lot of paperwork and a lot of movement of money would have to take place for us to help them. So in this case, we'd have to get in place an advisory agreement because we would be managing the money in that IRA. We'd have to get suitability information. We'd have to get the ISS, which is a strategy selection, whether they want it to be in the conservative, the moderate, or the growth strategy that we would set up for them. Of course, we'd have to get the IRA application with Charles Schwab. We'd have to get transfer forms. We'd have to make sure we have the most recent statement. We'd have to set up distributions and get a voided check. So if they do want distributions sent to them monthly or one-time, one-off distributions to their bank account, we would have all that set up. So
a lot of moving parts to that. And I mean, apart from that initial paperwork, how much is on the client's backs once that paperwork is
Very
signed?
little. That's a good point. We step in and take care of everything. So that's a lot of the time it's the paralysis by analysis. Folks decide not to do anything because of what they foresee the amount of work is going to be on them to have to do. But we step in and do everything.
Or they're intimidated by the financial world and don't even know where to start. I'm not happy where I am, but I don't know how to get to where I want to be.
Exactly. So. And if that one had enough moving parts, just wait for the next one. So,
let's go.
Scenario 3, this is where we really shine as a retirement planning firm. So this would be a couple, age 68 and 66. They are fully retired, and what they have to plan for, the husband had a pension, a 401k, and a Roth IRA. The wife would have a 403b and a brokerage IRA that was rolled over previously from a 401k prior.
So all of those are treated a little bit differently, right?
Exactly. So the movements of money are unique.
Okay.
So in this instance, we had the pension, which based on the plan that we had laid out, he wanted to do the lump sum rollover. Of course, the 401k, we would handle that as a rollover as well. His IRA would be a transfer into a brokerage Roth IRA. So with this, I just kind of jotted down, there'd be a total of about 13 different documents that I would have to collect in order to get into the plan that we had laid out. The plan we laid out would consist of 2 different Charles Schwab IRAs, both with different strategies for the investments. And Wes can speak a little bit to the maintenance of these brokerage accounts here in a bit. We would have an income annuity, an accumulation type annuity, and then, of course, the Roth brokerage IRA. On the wife's movements of money, we'd have about 7 different documents we would need to put in place for her business. That would consist of a 403B rollover, brokerage IRA transfer. Of course, with these IRAs, we'd have to have liquidation calls. Again, none of this that the client would have to do on their own. If anything, we would have them on a conference call, and our staff would assist them in conference calls.
So this gets really involved with the client. So pension, sometimes that's a rollover call. Sometimes that's custodial paperwork. Is that right?
Sometimes we may need marriage license, might need birth certificates. We may need death certificates if a spouse has passed away. So there's a lot that we have to assist these clients with to get the money moved over where they want it to be.
That's great. Yeah. I really feel like we're providing a service to the clients that just don't know how to navigate the financial world.
Yeah. The onboarding process is a lot, but it's something that we know very well. And Tony's, of course, built out the staff to be able to have us assist them all through the way.
Exactly. And kind of to piggyback on what you've done. So when Tony comes back from the Louisville office, he brings us a stack of new business. And so we go through that, and we have a new business meeting to discuss each case and get the appropriate paperwork to the appropriate departments to get that going. So, start to finish, that process can take a few weeks. But once it's complete, you kind of come back
at
that point.
Yep.
So kind of speak to that. So once all the business is issued, we aren't finished with the clients just yet, are we?
No. And what's cool about that is it does take sometimes 3+ weeks to get the money where it belongs. But once it's all said and done and we have every account established, funded, invested how the plan desires, we will put together a binder that they get to keep that details the entire plan. It will be that final delivery binder. I've kind of called it the culmination of everything that we put together. We'll sit down once again, go over it for about 30 minutes, explain everything, confirm beneficiaries, confirm any distributions that are set up according to the plan, and just kind of tie it up with a bow.
Kind of the beginning, isn't
Exactly.
it? Really,
Exactly.
I mean, that's when we start the relationship with the client, I think, is once they're on board, and then we're not one and done with them. So that's a kind of a continual process. And I think next segment, we're going to be talking with Wes, and Wes really kind of maintains a lot of these plans that we've put together. And we'll kind of talk about how rebalancing and the brokerage accounts are handled coming up.
So you've worked 30 or 40 years slaving away at work so you can save away money into your 401k, and now you arrive at the biggest financial decision you're ever going to make, where to invest your 401k plan. Think about it. For all these years, you've had a steady paycheck, compliments from your employer for all of your hard work that you dedicated to them. But now, all of a sudden, you've got to figure out how to replace that paycheck with the money you've been saving. No wonder you're worried about what to do and who to trust with that money, which is why we at Tony Walker Financial are providing a brand new free service called the 10-Minute Fiduciary Phone Call. And here's how simple it is to learn more about our services and our 401k rollover process. First, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Once there, click on the Let's Get Started button. You'll be taken to a page. Confidentially, you can fill out your information on the screen and then click below the best way for us to speak together. It could either be myself or one of our other trained fiduciaries. It's that easy. So what are you waiting for? Before you make a rash decision and blindly turn your money over to a complete stranger to invest, consider a name and a firm you can trust, Tony Walker Financial. I'll look forward to speaking with you soon. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. So if you're retired or thinking of retiring soon, maybe you know of somebody who doesn't know if they can retire, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Are you retired or retiring soon? Do you have a 401k, IRA, thrift savings account, 403b, or lump sum pension that you'd like to move to safer territory? Did you know that all the money you see on your 401k statement isn't really yours? Depending on your overall taxable income, the government has essentially a lien on your 401k that can tax as much as 40% of your money when you go to take it out. Tony Walker calls this the 401k tax tumor. For over 33 years, retirement specialist Tony Walker has helped thousands of savers worry less about money by creating game plans to deal with your tax tumor. Get control of your retirement by controlling the taxes owed on it. Schedule a free meeting to see if you can reduce your tax tumor and provide a guaranteed income you can never outlive. To get started, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
With the uncertainty of the stock market, now may be the best time to consider moving your 401k to safer territory. To talk to me at no cost or obligation, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Looking to roll over your 401k? Then log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and learn just how easy it is to roll over and safeguard your 401k. Do it today. Well, welcome back, folks, to Worry-Free Retirement. I'm Wes Walker, Tony's nephew and one of the fiduciaries on staff, here talking with my fellow fiduciaries, Heather Hughes and Trey Juergens, just about the many different things that we do at Tony Walker Financial, as well as our process when we see new clients bring new business into the office, how that's processed, and ultimately how these plans get brought to fruition. So with my time here, I wanted to talk a little bit about a few different scenarios that savers could find themselves in as they bring, employer-sponsored plans and different accounts into Tony Walker Financial. So with our first saver scenarios, kind of what I'm calling these, I'd like to talk about a couple. He's 61 years old, she's 57. He's currently employed and plans on retiring next year. She's already retired. So if we kind of take all that into account, we need to look at their assets. He's got $400,000 in a current employer's 401k, and his main kind of goals in retirement is he would like to go ahead and safeguard this money, doesn't trust the stock market, would like to be out at this point, and would like to pay off his mortgage of about $80,000.
So that's the kicker. I think that's something we see a lot. Heather, I know you see a lot in our planning, is no one really wants to bring debt into retirement. So a lot of folks try to either take those big distributions in the same year that they're working. A lot of the times, in Wes, in this case, I think you're planning for it, is to wait until a tax year that they don't have all that income and kind of earmark those funds to pay off the house. So what exactly in this case did you decide to do?
Yeah, so this is an actual case that came into Tony Walker Financial. What we ended up doing, now she has some assets outside of him that we're not including on the model here, so we do have some assets outside of that $400,000, but what we did in order to accommodate for all his goals, we processed what's called an in-service rollover. Trey, you could probably speak to that better than I can because you're handling that paperwork, but what it is when someone is currently employed and would like to bring over an employer-sponsored account to Tony Walker Financial, they don't have to separate service as long as they're over that 59.5 threshold, and the plan allows for in-service withdrawals. So we took that $400,000 and we used our split IRA concept. We put $250,000 to annuities and the balance going to our Charles Schwab platform. What we did, though, in this case was leave $80,000 in a one-year CD and the balance to our moderate strategy. So that $80,000 in the one-year CD is going to allow for him to next year pay off the home. So current CD rate's around 4.8% as of this morning, Trey, so we can earn some money on his money while we wait to pay off the home next year when he's going to be retired and won't have that taxable income from his wages included in his income. So he won't be thrown into a higher tax bracket.
And I think that's one thing that we need to speak to is, just our really strong tax planning department. They're going to look at those situations to see the best timing for something like that. A lot of times, like you said, we'll wait until they retire and pay it off all at once, or we may even stretch that out over a couple of years. So we don't ratchet them up into a really high tax bracket.
And in my area, we talk about risk a lot, me and you, Heather, and then when we're talking to clients, he has de-risked himself a lot from this $400,000. Before, he might have been in a 70-30 split, 70 stocks, 30% bonds. Now he's got $250,000 in annuities, another $80,000 in a one-year CD, and the balance in a portfolio that's 50% bonds, 50% stocks, thereabouts. He has de-risked himself a lot, and he's going to be able to accomplish all of his goals and objectives with the money he's got now. So that was the plan for saver scenario number 1.
That's great. Good stuff.
That's awesome. So you have another one?
Yeah. So check this one out. This was a single male. He's 66 years old. He's waited until his full retirement age of 66 and 4 months to begin his Social Security benefits. He retired at 62 years old and has been using his Charles Schwab account for income between now and then, taking monthly distributions of $3,500 per month gross. Now, so we know the Social Security is going to start to come into the picture here. He's got $1,900 a month in Social Security benefits coming. So what we did was we backed off his Charles Schwab distributions from $3,500 per month gross to $1,600, because we know that Social Security is going to fill in the gap. This was good because it allows for us to have another 3 years of distributions left in his Charles Schwab account. At that time, we're going to turn on income from an income and annuity that he also purchased with Tony Walker Financial. So again, a lot of moving parts here. This is where the value of a retirement planning expert really comes into the fray. They can know when to, ratchet down income from Charles Schwab because that Social Security is going to come into the picture, and then ultimately how much income an annuity product that we've recommended is going to produce. All the while, his income remains unchanged. He has the same amount of income from start to finish.
Yeah, it's really cool. The amount of maintenance and the cash raises and all the different things that go on behind the scenes. I know a lot of the time folks are saying, well, who's this Charles Schwab? What are they doing? It's actually us. It's Wes, it's Heather, it's Shannon, with directives from us as the advisors making these trades to help our clients out. So the amount of work that goes into these and at least monitoring these accounts. One step beyond that, Heather, just to kind of close us out, are these income plan audits. This is a new service that we've kind of come up with over the last 6 months and kind of refined for client reviews for us to monitor how income plans are doing.
Exactly. So I think our main goal is once we've got a plan in place, we want to try to execute that plan as best as possible. Things happen in life as usual, but we try to make that seamless. You mentioned all of the cash raises and things that we do to keep that income flowing to them. We try to keep that as seamless as possible. But what we found is we really wanted to make sure that these plans were actually getting executed how we had originally anticipated. Mm-hmm. So we've actually started going back and auditing these plans back 5-6 years, and just to see if they are going as per plan or if there needs to be some adjustment, because life does happen. So we've really got a very regimented process and some criteria on what we're looking at in those plans. So once the plan's made and you've delivered it, that's not the end. It is a continual relationship with the clients here.
Yeah, these have been really cool. And I know, Wes, you've been making a lot of these phone calls. A lot of them are, hey, things are looking good. I know there's some unexpected things that pop up, but it's pretty cool knowing that we've got our eyes on them. What are some of the comments you've seen?
Yeah, I mean, the income plan audits have been an awesome thing just to stay in touch with clients. A funny example, had one a few weeks ago, called, noticed his Schwab account looks a lot lower than what it was supposed to be at this point. Had called and asked him, hey, just want to be sure everything's all right. Turns out, yeah, he bought a boat. And he's loving it. And
live well, die broke.
Yeah, so I mean, all that takes is just a simple modification to his income plan. It means that in the future there's going to be a little less income from Schwab. He's okay with that because he's going to be out on the lake, not worried about anything related to Charles Schwab. So it's been an awesome service and a good way to keep up with clients for sure.
Well, Wes, thank you again. Heather, thank you for your time. I had another show with the 3 favorite fiduciaries here, but if you're out there and you feel like you don't have a plan or fiduciaries in your corner to help you in retirement, please feel free to go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. We'd be happy to help you. Thank you.